So in this video we'll be building out this cool project. Let me show you how it works. So as I scroll, this 3D mesh has this cool animation, and if I keep scrolling now, it goes around and comes here. So this is what we'll be building today. So the tech stack which we'll be using is GSAP for this animation on scroll, Tailwind CSS for the styling, React 3 Fiber for loading this mesh to in the browser, and 3GS. Okay then, so let's begin. So here I've got an empty VS Code running in the desired folder. So let me open my terminal. So for starters, let's install Vite. We initialize the React project with npm create Vite at latest. This will give us the latest Vite project in the current directory. So I'll give a dot. It will be a React project with TypeScript, the latest version. Okay, so then let me install all the dependencies. So while it's installing, let me just go to the Tailwind docs for the installation process for Vite, and let me go here. I think this is almost over. Okay, so let me just launch my server and see whether everything is working. npm run dev. Let me go to localhost 5173. Yeah, it's working. So now for Tailwind, I went to the docs, and if I scroll down, I need these two lines here. Let me terminate the server. Let me paste those two lines. It will give us the Tailwind config file. I'll just copy this 3 lines of code. Should get a Tailwind config file now. Okay, there's something. Okay, I have it here. Let me paste it right here. Save that. Copy this out. Go to index.css. Remove all this. Paste this here. Now let me just clear all this out. We don't need this. We don't need. Oops. One second. We don't need this. app.css, no need. React logo, use state, none of this. Remove. I'll put this into trash. I'll save everything, and to check whether my Tailwind is working, I'll just type in hello with the class name of text red 500. Save that, run the server. Oops, not npm run dev. Go back to the server. Okay, so our Tailwind is also set up. So now let me install the React 3 packages. For actually running 3GS in a React project, we'll need to install some dependencies. So for that, npm react 3 fiber, this one. Let me actually create a new terminal instance. I need, so in this for us we'll have the 3 npm the 3 package and React 3 fiber. I'll copy that, paste it right here. While that's installing, I'll also install React 3 Dre for all the helpers which they provide us. So yeah, this line, copy that, paste it right here. With that, I think that's done. Okay, so while this is installing, let me create a new component. So component folder, under this we'll have a canvas container.tsx file, RAFC for the boilerplate. Save that. I'll bring it here, so we don't need this anymore. Canvas container, yeah, this one. Put this here, paste it right here. We don't need this. My server is running, I think. Okay, so let me go to localhost 5173. Okay, so it's there. So now to actually create the canvas, we'll have to import that from React 3 Fiber. So canvas, and it's giving me an error. Let me import it. Okay, and just to check whether our canvas is working, I'll create a mesh. Inside that we'll have a box geometry, and I save that. This box geometry. So our React 3 Fiber is working accordingly. So now let me go actually create a div here, and go here, give a class name of edge screen. Okay, so with that, all the setup is done for us. Actually, we'll also install 2 more packages, which is npmi leva. This is actually for debugging purposes. I'll show you what this is when the time comes. So it's still loading. Actually, you know what, okay, never mind. I'll copy this, paste it here, and one last package, which is the GSAP package. So we'll be using this for all the animations, for the scroll based animation. This is an amazing JavaScript animation library. It's very cool. When it comes to React 3 Fiber, you have other solutions as well, such as I think it's React Spring and React Framework Motion, but I just chose to use GSAP. If you're using with plain JavaScript 3.js, vanilla JavaScript, I think GSAP is the way to go. But when you're using React 3 Fiber, there are other solutions as well. But we'll be using GSAP, npmi GSAP. So if I go open my package, I have leva 3. Okay, I've got everything now. So with this, our initial configuration is done. So now let's bring in the model. So the model which we'll be using is, let me open the site, Sketchfab. So this is the site we'll be using for downloading the model. So I'll go and type in the shoes. So here you've got bunch of different kind of models, and you cannot download all of them. So just check on this downloadable button, and as you can see here, there's this download icon here. Only those ones you can download. As far as these dollar signs, these are all paid. Make sure you see the CCI license. Anyway, I've already got a model with me. So if I go back to VS Code, open my Finder, go to downloads. This is the model which I've got from here. I'll make sure to link this in here as well. So if I go to public, this is my Finder. Let me just drag this and drop it to my public folder. So I've got it here. Fine. We don't need this anymore. Let me go to my canvas container. Actually, I'll remove this, and I'll create a new component called jordan.tsx rafc. So in this, now we'll load this model in this component, and I'll bring that component here, Jordan. I won't save anything because I'll get an error. Yeah. So now in here, let me bring it. So let's say const model use gltf. This is for loading the model, and you give it the path. So in our case, since it's in the public folder, you don't have to mention the entire absolute path. I'll just copy the file name, paste it right here, and I'll console log it out to see whether everything works. If I open my DevTools, context lost, I'll refresh that. Okay, let me see what okay, I didn't save this as well. Refresh. Error. Let's see what the problem is. Div is not part of 3 namespaces. Okay, so I think it is because when you're using React 3 Fiber, for all the components in where you use the 3JS, you cannot have HTML in it. So for now, let me just say null and save this here. Refresh it. Okay, this time I get my model here. And if you can hear a slight fan kind of noise, that's probably my laptop. Whenever you use React 3 Fiber, it tends to throttle a lot more because it's a very intensive program. Anyway, let me next what I'll do is, okay, so next what we'll do is we'll actually destructure nodes and materials. So this is here. So this is the model. I'm destructuring the nodes to get the geometries and the materials as well. So the shoe material and shoe lace material. So in order to I'm getting an error now because of TypeScript. So for that error to go, let me create a typings.d.ts file for all the type definitions. So in order to save your time, I've already created it and kept it. So I'll just copy this out, cut it, paste it right here, and save. If I go here and say as, what do you name it? Jordan GLTF. Okay, so let me just say what I did here anyway. So these are all individual nodes. When I was actually building this project, while I was loading these meshes, I was getting undefined. So these are worthless because there's nothing inside it. Only these two are the ones which we are concerned of, and these are the materials. So what I did was I just went nodes, created a nodes object here, copied this here, and mentioned it as 3.mesh. So with this, now TypeScript will help us. So here, what I'll do is we'll actually load the model. So in order to do that, let me create a fragment here, and let me have a group, and inside the group, let's start calling in each of the parts. So mesh. So for the geometry nodes dot, I got 2 here, so go with the first one, dot geometry, and let me save that. Do I have anything? Yeah, I've got, if you can see, okay, I don't think you can see it now. What I'll do is I'll go to canvas container, bring in orbit controls. So orbit controls gives us control over the camera. I'll save that. Now I'm able to move it. I'll just zoom in. So this is our first mesh. This is just the body, I guess. Anyway, so right now it's of this color because there's no material in. So let me bring in the material. So material. So for the material, I'll call materials. I'll just copy this. Materials dot. This is shoe. Okay, it's black now because there's no light in the scene. So let me bring in the light next. So here I'll call ambient light. Save that. Okay. Now we have our shoe. So ambient light basically gives us a uniform light. So everything in the scene gets lighted up. If you would have point light, it would have been from one direction and the other would be blank. Let me show you. actually, instead of just explaining point light. So right now I think the light is just here in the position 0, 0, 0. So you can see only these two parts, but we want something called ambient light. This will light up everything in the scene. So now let me go back to the Jordan. Next, the other geometry which we have is, I'll copy this actually and paste it right here, and instead of this it's shoelace shoe geometry, and this is the shoelace, I believe. Yeah, so with that we have our shoelace. So yeah, so that with that we've actually loaded our model. If I refresh it, it appears like this. So to fix that, what we'll do is go to group, we'll say scale, so this will bring up the size. I'll save it with 10, so it becomes bigger. And then let me actually rotate it. So I want to rotate it only on the x-axis. So rotation, if I can spell correctly, rotation only on the x-axis. I want it to be I have to give a square bracket as well. So math.pi gives us half a orientation. So if I save that, it goes half a orientation in the x-axis. So consider a line here, and you just spin it. So half of that orientation. So now to just correct that out, if I give a negative here, it should go in the opposite direction. Math.pi. Okay, it's still there. Let me actually go half a rotation. So 0.5. Okay, that's perfect. Good. I probably did not need that minus. I'll keep it that way anyway. So with that, we've positioned our model. Now let me actually slightly move it in this direction, the right side, because we'll have a text here soon. So let me go here and say position 2 units in the x-axis, 1 unit in the y-axis, and -1 in the z-axis. So it's here now. Okay, so as you can see, it's here. If I refresh it, comes up here. Now we are looking at from here. So just to change the way, like I want it to be something like this. So for that, what we can do is we can change the camera position. So as of now, we are looking, the camera is I think located somewhere here. So if I go to canvas.container, and inside the canvas, I can give a camera attribute. Inside the camera, you'll have to create another object, not another create, but create another curly brackets, and inside that just write camera, should be an object, and now you'll have to give it it's not camera, it's position. What am I doing? Position, and you'll have to give it an array of values. So in my case, I already have those values. If I go here, I have the position, this is the position, and I'll show you how I got these values in a moment. So I'll copy that, paste it right here, save it, refresh it. Okay, now it comes up here. So now how did I get this value? So I got this value. What I did was I went to the Jordan component. Inside that, I destructured out the camera from use3 here. Why am I getting it? Okay, fine. Then I console log out the camera, save that. Now if I go here, I get the camera object here, and has a bunch of these positions. So what we are concerned of is only the position, these values. So if I just console log out the position, position, save it, and no, yeah, so I start getting the position. So what I did was, I'll actually remove this now just to show you what my process was like. Let me comment out, refresh it. So it's like this, right? So what I did was, using orbit controls, I went and like chose the desired position. Then I opened my DevTools and just went back here, saved it, and I got the positions of the camera. I just took that and copied it out here. That's how I got the position for the camera. Because later on we'll be removing the orbit controls. We won't be removing it, but we'll be disabling its for the, like the users can now drag and drop. So later on we'll be disabling that. So with that, I'll just remove this. We've done our the model part. Now let's just bring in some proper, like the texture and all that. So if I go to canvas container here, and then here what I did is, I'll bring in a helper from React 3 Dre environment, and it's got some presets. So if I say city and save it, it should change a little bit. I don't think you just noticed that. Okay, save that. Right now there's nothing. Okay, there's a slight change. I don't think you can see this because it's through YouTube. I don't think you can see the slight change. There's a slight shine to the shoes. If I change it to something else, so say dawn, yeah, I hope you can see this. There's a kind of light coming from this side. So these are all some some which are already there in environment. There are a bunch of these, so I chose the city one. You can choose any one, and if you want, you can also load your own surrounding lighting and all. If I go to Dre, what was it, React 3 Dre, go here, expand this out. Where is environment? Let me find it out. Environ, I don't have it. And okay, that's probably because of my bad spelling. Okay, let me go on top. Come on, where's the environment? And it should be around here somewhere. Where is it? Let me search one more last time. And I can't spell properly. Environment. There's a helper for this. Okay, got it finally. So here, this one, environment. So as you can see, there's a like you can load your own files in here, so that you can have different kind of lighting. I'll open one for you. So these are all the examples. It's taking some time. So if I go here, environment, see here they've used a custom file. You can okay, it's loaded finally. So as you can see here, there's a shine to the car. This is because of this variable and certain lighting. Okay, anyway, let's not go further because that's a separate topic entirely. Okay, next what we'll do is, we'll actually remove the ambient light. So if I save that, okay, I get this kind of, okay, the before the texture was different because I'm loading in the environment which has its own lighting, and I'm putting ambient light as well. That's why there's a different kind of a cartoonish kind of texture to this. So after removing the ambient light, now it's accurate. Let me go to Jordan back, and I'll actually put in lighting here. So we'll be using something called directional light. this is kind of a studio light of kind of thing. So if I save that, let me minimize this, comment this out. See, there's a different you can see a slight change in the lighting. If I uncomment this out and save it again, there's a light here, as you can see. So we'll change the position of this. So what I can do is I can go to cast shadow, and I played a lot around the position of the lighting, and these were the values which I came up with. So negative 2.38 units in the x-axis, 1.32 unit on the y-axis, and 0.74 in the z-axis. I save that. Now the lighting is slightly changed. I'll refresh it just to make sure. Okay, so you can see a slight lighting here. The changes are marginal, but by the end, all these minute changes become huge changes, and there's a huge difference in how the model appears in the canvas. Okay, so with that, we've done the modeling part. Next, what we'll do is let me check whether this is okay. We've done all this thing. Next, we can go ahead with the GSAP. So okay, so let's bring in GSAP now. So from here, we've already installed GSAP, so let me bring it here. So we'll be bringing import GSAP from GSAP, and you'll also have to register. I'll actually show you what happens if I don't register. Anyway, I'll go back here to Jordan component, and in here, let me bring in, create a timeline. So GSAP has this object called, something called timeline. So this we can, GSAP is not defined, probably because I didn't import it. Import GSAP from GSAP. Save that, refresh this. Is it on? Okay, good. So we've done that. Next, what we'll do is, I'll use a use layout effect. This works just like the use effect, but the only difference is that the main difference is that it executes the functions inside synchronously, and use effect executes it in a non-synchronous manner. So in this, it'll be in a synchronous manner. So let me save that. Before that, let me go back here. So we have a container here. What we'll be needing are sections next. So let me create some components. So we'll have a header, we'll have a hero section, so and we'll have a about section. We'll go through the GSAP in a moment after creating this section, because then I can show you the magic of like the scroll trigger of GSAP. So let's create this now. So first is header. So let me go back here, create a header. So header dot tsx rafc. I won't bring this, I'll bring this in later. Next we'll have a hero section. So hero dot tsx rafc again. This will be a section, and the size of this will be the viewport of the screen. Next is the about component. So about dot tsx rafc. Save that. Make a section here, and this will also have the height of the screen, and finally the last component, which is the buy now section. So buy now dot tsx rafc again, save that section. This will be a section for the SEO class name, and the size will be the viewport of the screen at screen. So next, let me go back here. Now this is getting messy, so I'll close all the editors. I'm considering only the app. So let's bring in the hero section. So hero, bring it here. Okay, so I think I have the hero now. Okay, I can't scroll because of orbit controls. If I scroll down, hero section is right here. So we want the hero section to be behind the canvas. So what we can do is, I can go to edge screen. This canvas container, this div which we created here. This will say width will be full. It'll be fixed top 0, and I save that. Now we have our hero section here. Next, let's bring in our about section. So about, and save it here. Okay, I can't, because of orbit controls, it's zooming out the mesh. So let's disable that. Go to canvas container, go to orbit controls, zoom, not zoom 0, just zoom, and I'll say, I think it's enable zoom. Yeah, I'll just say false. Save that. Now this thing is working, our scroll bar. So with that, we have two sections, a hero section and an about section. Finally, we'll need I'll take all the comments out. We'll bring in the buy now section. Buy now, shoot. Buy now. Okay, this one. So with that, we have three sections: hero, about, and this is not saved yet, and buy now. So three sections. Now I can show you the magic of GSAP. Okay, so canvas container here. Let me go to Jordan here. So use layout effect. Inside the use layout effect, now before that, let me actually GSAP docs. This is documentation for React on how to create a GSAP. If you just have a breeze through this, I guess you can understand how things work. So in our case, I'll be following a slightly different approach. Here they've used a context. We won't be using context and all. So if I go here, okay, see, if I scroll, you get this neat kind of animation which goes from left to right. So I think this is without the React 3.5. Okay, this is just the normal div. So we'll be following a slightly different approach. So yeah. Okay, so first we'll have to create a timeline with the gsap.timeline function. Now inside here, what you'll have to do is, if I say t1.2, so this creates a it's not t1, tl.2, and I'll need the camera, which I'm destructuring here. If I move the camera dot position, and here I create an object, I say x, say 10, and I save it. As you can see, this thing moved. And if I say y2, it moves here. But now because this use layout effect is firing as soon as as soon as this component mounts, the effect renders. Before that, I'll just also mention this so that only runs once. Save that. So now what we want to do is, when I actually scroll, the animation should change. But now what is happening is, as soon as I make a change here, 18 is too high, 21, the change is made at that instance itself. What we want is, when we scroll, at that time the animation should be made. So in order to do that, this the timeline provides us with something called scroll trigger, and you can mention what the trigger is. So the class, so in our case we haven't created this class, we'll be creating this shortly. So this will be dot second section, and I want, okay, I'll just save this. It should break now. Nothing will be working because we haven't registered something. As you can see, we are getting a message here: missing plugin GSAP.register plugin. So in order to use this, what you have to do is, you have to actually register the scroll trigger. So to register, go to the app.tsx, not app, canvas.container, and in here we'll register it. So GSAP dot register plugin scroll, where is it, scroll trigger, this one, and save that here. We'll still get a message because there's a workaround on when you're working with the scroll trigger is not defined. I'll have to bring in this as well. Okay, I'll have to manually import, so we'll be getting it from GSAP /dist. Actually, we'll go to scroll trigger, and from here save that, refresh this. Now is it working? Thing to do. Okay, element not found dot second section, because this class name doesn't exist at the moment. So let us create this now. So if I go to app, it's not the hero section because this is the first section. I want the animation to trigger in the second section, which is the about one. So let me go to about, and here just before H screen, I'll create mine called second section. So this is the class name which will be triggered when we make the scroll. So let me refresh it. I'll actually close this out, and okay, nothing happens now because we haven't mentioned the values. Let me minimize this, close this, go back to canvas container, Jordan, here, trigger. So right now we haven't mentioned how much the units, how many units should the camera move on the trigger. So let us mention that next. So let me just say it should move 5 units in the x-axis and 4.0 on the y-axis, and in the z-axis I want it to move 2.8, comma, and I'll save that. Now let me try. I'll refresh it. As you can see, something happens here. It moves immediately. Okay, we don't want that. So in order to avoid that, like as soon as I make the scroll, it goes to this position. I want it to be as I scroll, I want the animation to go. So for that, what I do is start. There's a object called start. I'll say what these are in a moment. So top, bottom, and end. I'll explain this after I show you what it does. So here I think there's a comma here, scrub, this gives true, and immediate render will be false. So giving all that values, as you can see now, as I am scrolling, the animation is being made, which is very cool. So now as for what these values are, let me actually, there's an attribute called markers which can be used for debugging. Markers true. So now as you can see here, you've got certain text appearing on the right side. As I scroll, you can see the difference. So what this is, so top basically means when the trigger, which is the second section, hits the bottom of the viewport. So as you can see, as the top part of the section, the second section, hits the bottom part of the viewport, the animation will be made, and it should end at the top of the trigger when hits the top of the viewport. I hope that makes sense, but I know it might come out confusing at first because it took me some time for understanding what is actually going on. So again, top and bottom start. So top, basically the first parameter means the second section, which is the about section here, when it hits when the top part of it hits the bottom part of the viewport, which is right here. So, right now we don't, it's not started yet. Now when I slightly scroll up, it hits the second section, the top part hits the bottom of the viewport, as you can see here. That's what happens. And scrub basically means smooth animations, and immediate render we put it false, and the markers is used for the debugging purposes. So right now only the camera is moving. I want this mesh also to move to the left side. So in order to do that, what you'll have to do is you'll have to destructure another thing called scene. I save that. So scene is basically this. You can control the position of the mesh. So this controls the position. Now let us actually we can chain the function. So this is the 2. I can say I can chain other function to scene dot position, comma, again I'll have to give it some values. So in our case it will be x 3.01. You'll have to play around with the values to see like what the correct orientation is. 0.76 and 3 z axis I think will be 2, no, I think it's 3.7. I'll create a comma here. I'll copy all this out. I'll paste it right here. Save that. Now this is also moving. Now because I've mentioned the position of the scene, the position of the mesh is also changing, as you can see here. But now it's going like towards us. What I want to do is I want to rotate it and position it here. It should come up here. So in order to do that, I'll keep the markers. So we've changed the position. Now we'll have to change the rotation of it. So now to change the rotation, I'll again chain 2 attribute here, 2 function dot 2. This will be for the rotation. Scene dot rotation, comma, and I give the values in. So values again, so x5, y will be 3.8 and z will be 2.8, and I can actually copy these values again. copy. Okay, scroll trigger, paste it right here. Now hopefully it works. Refresh it. Okay, it's doing some weird kind of animation. That's because I haven't set up the actual proper values here. So as you can see, it moves in a very funky way. Let me see what the problem is. Let me actually create new scroll trigger and see whether I'll have to bring in this scroll trigger also. Go to canvas container, copy this, paste it here. I want to see whether this is the problem. Okay, now okay, it's doing some weird animation. Anyway, so this is because of React, the way React 3 Fiber was built. So you'll have to actually initialize the scroll trigger inside the use layout effect for it to work properly. Okay, so right now it's not doing what we want it to. So let us actually get those values. I have it right here. This one, the camera position, so give us till here. Copy this out and I'll show you how I got those values shortly. Paste it right here, and we'll have to create let me actually comment this part out, because this is for the final component. This is for the buy now component. Save that, refresh it just to be sure. Okay, as you can see now we are having that smooth and perfect animation and the correct positioning. So before it was because I gave it some random values here, XYZ, so it was moving around all crazy. Okay, so now let me show you how I got those values. So if I uncomment this out, okay. Why am I getting an error? I'll comment this also out. I'll comment the entire use layout. Error. There's some bracket error somewhere. Okay, this line as well. What am I doing? Save. Let me refresh it. Okay, so I have my mesh here. Now let me show you how I got those values. So what I did was I used the debug UI for which is leva. So const, I destructure out the position, camera position, next is the scene position, scene rotation. So this is basically leva. This is I'll show you how this works. Use controls. Let me stop the server because it's starting to structuring camera position, scene rotation. We are getting error because there's nothing inside it. Create an object called camera position, and inside that we'll have something called value. You'll understand what these are shortly. And x I'll give as 0. This is basically the initial values. Y 0. This also 0. Let me actually remove this because I think all at once might be confusing. Let me save that. Now if I run the server again, localhost 5173, I should be getting a input field right here. So it's taking time. You can see here now we have something here. So this is camera position, x value, y value, and z value. I can play around with the values here, but right now nothing is happening because these value is not connected with the camera. So now let me actually I'll shorten this out. Okay, here I'll bring in the use frame and inside this we can start what was I going to do? Camera dot position dot x. So the x value of the camera will be the x value of this thing which we just created from lever. Camera position x dot x. I hit save. Now you can see this is like oriented on top. That's because the initial value is 0 0 0. Now if I change this to say 3, you can see it moving. 4 moves. I'll do the same now for the y and z values. So camera position y, camera position z, and this also y and z, and I save. Now I can start playing around the camera position, as you can see. So right now the increments is very less. So in order to, you can change that in Leva. So in order to change that, what I can do is go step 0.05. So now these value will be an increments of 0.05. As you can see, nicely it goes very nicely. Okay, so that is the camera position. Now what we can do is we can do the same thing for the scene position and scene orientation. So let me terminate the server. So instead of camera position, let's have scene position. Again, should have commented it out, but whatever. Scene position and scene rotation. Scene position, scene rotation, value in object x, let's say 3, y will be 0.7 and z will be 3.7. I'll create same thing for scene rotation. Okay, why is there no? Okay, it's because of the comma. This will be a step of, I want it to be step 1.5 and this will be step of 1.001, comma. Saved everything. I'll run the server again. Now you can see I can move in the camera position, but I cannot play around with this because I haven't registered it here. So instead of camera, next we'll do for the scene position. So scene scene dot position dot x will be scene position x. You can do the same for the y value, y and z, and this also z. If I refresh it, might take some time for the model to load. I think I broke something. Okay, never mind. Is it here somewhere? Okay, it's somewhere. Okay, it's fine, I'm getting it now. As you can see, now I can play with the position as well. A position, and this is a camera position, how the camera appears. Now let's fix the rotation as well. We'll will hook this scene rotation with this rotation of the mesh. So now instead of, I'll just copy this out, paste it here, and instead of, it'll be rotation, and this will be, copy this, select all these, paste it right here, saved it. Now I can play with the rotation as well. Okay, why is this not working? Scene dot rotation y. Okay, this is because of, what is z, should be y. Okay, now I can start playing with the values. So this is how I got those values. Okay, here also I did the same thing. So basically I played around these values and tried to position it in such a way that it makes sense. I don't want to waste too much time in this, but just for the initial, the first one, I'll show you how I did it. Okay, now need it kind of like that, kind of like that, like that, kind of. Okay, so like this, kind of like this. So these are the values which I got: the camera position, scene position, and scene rotation. Let me cut the server out, comment this section out. Where is it? What did it do? And uncomment all this out. Okay, so basically all these values now, camera position, and scene rotation, I put it here. So camera position, say it's here, it's my negative 0.80, the position of this YZ for the camera position, for the scene position, this one, and for the scene rotation here. So this is, all these three are for the second section, as you can see here, second section. So now if I refresh it here, okay, let me run the server again, let me refresh this. It takes time for the model to load. Where's the model? Did I break something? Nope, it's taking some time. Okay, I broke something probably. Let me actually comment this out as well. Don't know what I did wrong. Okay, there's an error somewhere. Component by now. Okay, this one should be, okay, this dot. Okay, and I think with that all errors are gone. Save that. Okay, good. Now if I scroll, I start getting this animation right here. It's very cool. And for the third one, I'm not getting any animation because if I go back here, the trigger for this third section, we haven't created this yet. So let me go back to the about section. Was it? This is the second section, the by now section, this one, and here I'll create that class name, third section, and I save it here. Now if I refresh it, I scroll, this is for the second section, and now as soon as I finish for the second section and hit the third section, the animation is made for the third section. That's very cool here. So as soon as this is done, we get we go to the third section here. Let me create the markers for, like, just to show you how it works. Markers true. I'll save that. Now we have all those markers. Now I can explain what it is to you now. So as inside the first timeline, the start. So again, the top section of the trigger, which is the second section, the top part, when it hits the bottom part of the viewport. So here, when I scroll, when the top of the second section hits the bottom of the viewport, which is already dead, I scroll it and it should end at the top of the trigger, which is the second section, to the top of the viewport here. Now we'll move on to the third section here. So this is done. Now again, from it will move these values. The trigger is the third section, the top of the third section here, when it hits the bottom of the viewport. So that's because of some bug. Now it works, and it should end here, the top, when it hits the top of the viewport. Just play around with it a bit, you'll understand what I'm trying to say. Now it doesn't make sense, top bottom. Okay, so with that we've done the most important part of our project, which is the animation. Now let me actually paste all the stylings for our project, and I'll be back. So this is how the final project will look like after pasting in all the stylings. So let me show you the final demo. So I scroll, this is the about section, and I keep scrolling, it makes this animation, and this is the final section, which is the buy now section. Input here, list of my bad jokes, and a kind of message here. So let me actually go through what I did here. So this is the basically, minimize this, let me cancel all this out, app.tsx. so make sure you given the correct z index here, because here for the canvas I've given a z10, and for the hero section here I've given a z index of 20. That's basically because if I give this priority, I won't be able to press this button. Same thing with this right here. So if I go to the buy now section here, I've given a z index of z20 only for this part. Let me just show you what happens if I take this and put it to the entire section. What happens if I save that? The mesh basically disappears. That's because this mesh is under the section now. That's why I did that. We put it back here, z20. Now it works. And if I remove this, let me show you what happens. z20, if I remove this, I'm not able to press the button because this canvas container is over this section, so I'm not able to click it. That's why I gave a z index right here. And another important thing which I did was, in our canvas container here, I gave a suspense fallback. So this is basically, I think this is from React. Yeah, this is from React. So what happens is, if I refresh here, I have the page loads, and the loading screen for this mesh will appear here. So what I did was, I created a component called loading, and it should fall back to this component loading, which is here, loading, and this is a helper from Dre. So basically this HTML allows you to insert kind of HTML tags in your canvas. So let me show you. So instead of this loader, which is also from Dre, that initial loading screen which you saw, that comes from Dre. So if I comment this and say p loading ... save that, should see that. Okay, I think I have to give a styling also. I'll give a class name. Okay, my laptop is starting to slow down. Better wrap this up quickly. Okay, let me refresh that. loading, as you can see. That is what we did here. Anyway, I'll use the helper from Dre, which is the loader, which gives us the progress button, the progress bar here. So if I refresh this one last time, okay, so this is what we've built. And let me know if you want me to actually do the stylings live here. I'll be happy to do that. Thanks for watching. Hope you guys learned something new.